And it's a good time of year to take a look at your overall financial perspective for the rest of the year. Come up with a game plan. Blair Manton's back. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, we're going to look at 4 main signs that you have a debt problem, the dreaded D word. The first one being just completely avoiding your credit account balance altogether. Like basically you're in the dark, you don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, so debt is one of those problems. It doesn't get better on its own. If you hide from it, essentially it gets worse. So if you got a stack of unopened mail, if you're screening your calls because you don't want to talk to a collector, or if you're even avoiding filing your taxes, maybe for a few years now because you know you owe the government money, none of those things are helping the problem. What you're going to do is you'll probably get surprised when there's some escalating collection activities. And with regards to taxes, the government already knows you owe them money. By not filing, they're going to be more aggressive with you than they otherwise would be. So you've really got to get your hands around the problem. You've got to know what the issue is by opening your mail every month, paying attention to the collection activities against you if they're happening.
Wow, really stressful. We're going to touch on that in a second, but we're not just talking about credit card debt, right?
Yeah, it could be any kind of debt, credit cards, student loans, income taxes. There's a lot of ways in this modern world to get into trouble, unfortunately.
Okay, if you are in debt in a significant amount, a lot of times it's an uphill battle. You're just kind of piecemeal getting it down there, but you never can really get a handle on it. So adding to the debt is a big problem as well.
Yeah, that's a huge warning sign that we see. So I encourage people to look at their budget and take away all the debt repayments every month. Could you live on just what you've got coming in the door? And for a lot of folks, they find, well, no, I need credit to actually make my ends meet every month. If you're just adding to the problem every month, the first way you stop a debt problem is that you stop borrowing. So you really need to look at, are you relying on payday loans to make ends meet? Are you suddenly looking for that consolidation because all the cards are racked up again? You really got to make sure you're not adding to your debt balances every month.
Okay, and say if you have like a large amount of debt with a credit card, for example, with a high interest rate, is it sort of better to look at getting a loan with a lower interest rate to sort of pay that off, or does that become a vicious cycle?
It can be better, but first off, it's very difficult to qualify for that because you need assets and really strong income. And then also, it's incredibly important you have the discipline to not use those cards that you've consolidated. A lot of people, they got the consolidation loan, the cards come back up, and they've got double the problem that they originally had.
This is tough for like families with kids and things like that.
Yeah,
right?
Especially in the lower mainland, it can be really difficult, even on a solid income, just to make ends meet every month.
Okay, and the dreaded minimum payment when it comes to credit cards, there's that number on there that says if you only make the minimum payment, you'll pay this off by like 2053 or something.
Yeah.
It's really daunting, so you want to pay more than the minimum payment every month.
Yeah, for nearly 60% of people that come to see us, the reason they knew they had a problem with their debts is they read that disclosure on their credit card statements. They saw, hey, $6,000 is going to take me 40 years. And you can imagine the math goes up from there. So if you're just making minimum payments, you need to accept that's not getting you out of debt. All that's doing is treading water. You're making the banks a whole lot of money, but you're not solving your own problem.
Now, I know you're not a marriage counselor, but you must deal with some relationship issues when it comes to finances in your line of work. It can be incredibly stressful being in debt, right?
Oh, absolutely. It can be all-consuming. You know, people think about their debt worries constantly, not a couple times a day or a month. It's every moment of every day. A lot of people are just feeling incredibly stressed and hopeless, but they need to understand there are solutions. There are people that can help them get things back on track.
And you want to avoid the stigma of being ashamed about your debt, right?
Yeah, you really need to speak to your partner, you know, speak to an expert, speak to someone that's going to help you understand you're not alone. Over 100,000 people in Canada every year restructure their debts. They go on to very successful lives, but they need to stop doing what they're doing right now, which is just paying interest, making the minimum payment trap every month.
Okay, sound advice as always. Thanks so much. Where can people get more info?
Go to sands-trustee.com. A bunch of offices in the Lower Mainland here to help.
Okay, Blair, thanks. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.